G'day. Before I get rolling on this video, I would first like to say a big thank you to all of those who have subscribed to my YouTube channel. Certainly very encouraging, and I certainly will be doing a few more. So stay tuned, and why don't you pass them around so others get to know about it all. To this video, I posted up a video on how I went about making a skipping rope handle. Now that created a bit of discussion on a woodwork forum here in Australia, specifically about whether some of the techniques I showed on that video were dangerous and the lack of explanation about some of those techniques. So the idea of this video was to run through, in particular, the sizing of timber using a template while the wood is spinning. Now before we actually look at the techniques, I just wanted to go through quickly the templates themselves. Now this was the template that I used for the skipping rope handles with the 3 diameters cut out of a piece of aluminium. Now it was a piece of 2mm aluminium. Doesn't have to be aluminium. The template could be another rigid but thin material. So it could be a piece of perspex, it could be some MDF or some 3-ply or whatever else. Now it doesn't have to be a template like this. In fact, the only reason I would encourage you to use a template is when you're doing multiples of the one thing. Otherwise the effort that goes into making this is just not worth your while. It could be, for instance, a set of vernier calipers. Now I've modified these vernier calipers to make sure that they are suitable for sizing while the timber is spinning, but I'll go through that in a sec. And lastly, it could be a set of calipers such as these. Now, whichever you do go for, there are 3 things that are very important. Now, the first thing I would like to suggest that is important is the fact that these corners need to be rounded over. If they're not rounded over, there's a chance that the sharp corners that would otherwise exist, whether it be on there or the verniers, remember that the verniers are often got quite a pointy edge to them, can catch on the timber. So as you're using your parting tool, you bring your template or your verniers up to the timber, and you've got a sharp edge there that can catch on the timber and flick the verniers or the template out of the way. So important, round the corners over. I've modified these, as I said, so that the corners are rounded over. So these verniers are specifically for that task. The second thing that's really important also, well, they're all important, is that your parting tool is wider than your template. Now remember I said that this template was 2mm wide. The parting tool is 3mm. So there's no chance that this template can get caught or jammed in the groove that you make with your parting tool. Second point. The third point is something that I'm going to have to demonstrate on the lathe, and we'll get to that in a sec. But it goes back to the parting tool and the cut that you use. Now the cut that you use when you use this parting tool, and making sure that your parting tool is quite sharp or very sharp, is a peeling cut. Now by using a peeling cut means that the timber you're cutting, or the cut that you make on the timber I should say, is a clean cut. If it is a clean cut, there's very little chance of your template catching on any jagged edges that a blunt or a scraping cut might make with your parting tool. As I said, we'll demonstrate on the lathe, and we'll get to that right now. Now we're at the lathe here with a piece of 35mm square yellow gum on the lathe. One thing I didn't mention is that you never use this technique when the wood is square. You've always got to have the timber rounded over first. So the first thing I've got to do is round this piece of wood over. Now I've got a roughing gouge here to do the job, and then I'm turning the roughing gouge on the side there like so to round it over. Now I've got my 3mm Sorby parting tool, I've got my template, this is the peeling cut. A peeling cut is when we have the bevel rubbing first, lift the handle up until the cutting edge starts to cut. As you get deeper and deeper into the groove, lift the handle up more and more so that the parting tool still cuts, but the bevel is also still rubbing, and that way we get a nice clean cut. Here's another one. Bevel rubbing, lift the back of the handle up. As we get deeper, we're continuing to lift the back of the handle up. Here's the same thing with the template. Get the cut going first. And there's my fit. One more, but look at how I'm holding the template, just between two fingers, holding it gently. You don't need to hold it firmly. If anything does happen to go wrong, then it's going to flick out of your hand. And as soon as it's sized, it'll go over the hole, or over the diameter I should say. Here's the same technique with the vernier calipers. Look how I hold them in my hand. Good thing about the verniers is I can say I want a 20mm diameter. I'm going to put the verniers on 20.5mm, so I'm just adding a little bit. Look how I'm holding them in the hand. Just between those two fingers, they're just pivoting there, peeling cut, and as soon as we get the diameter right, the verniers will rock into place. There it is. One more. Peeling cuts. Now, I hope that video has been helpful. I suppose I'd like to finish by saying that wood turning is dangerous. There's a lot of things that are demonstrated on YouTube that are dangerous. If you're not comfortable with any of those techniques, if you haven't been shown those techniques, then there might be there's a good chance there's some dangers involved, and you perhaps need to find out what those dangers are. So there's a classic example of that. There's three things that I didn't explain, three subtle things that were being done that can make a difference between success and failure. Thanks for watching again. Remember, subscribe to my YouTube videos. Remember that all that happens if you do subscribe is you'll get updates when I do post a new video up. Thanks for watching. Happy turning. See you later.